Hello and welcome to another episode of Jay's Big Chat with me, your host, Jermaine AKA Jay. And joining me to talk about the big topic that is social media and mental health, we've got Alex, Rosetta, Roland, Katie, and Gaia. Welcome, guys.
Yeah.
So we're literally going to dive straight in. And we're just going to voice our opinions when we hear the words, I guess, mental health. Like, what comes to mind straight away, really?
You know what? I think a lot of guys have this misconception of mental health being like, you're not really 100% like a man, but I've obviously learned with more awareness that it doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with you. It's just the state in which your mind is at any particular time. So mental health, it just makes me think about what similarly, if I relate it to like fitness, am I in my optimal condition right now? Am I in my best peak, or am I, just average, or am I below my usual state? And I feel like for me personally, it can fluctuate. I don't know about other people, but for myself, it can fluctuate. So I feel like your fitness or your health, you have to maintain it, keep an eye on it, put things in place on a regular basis to try and keep, that fitness, that mental health.
That's a really, really good way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think
I agree with Roland, because everybody has mental health. Every one of us have mental health, but it's the way that some people can suppress it, whereas some people can't. It's like you're smoking. Some people would take a spliff of say marijuana and smoke it maybe for a month and nothing happens to them. And I might just go and take it for just one spliff and I'm off the rails. So mental illness, everyone has it, but it's just that some people can suppress it more than some, and some it escalate more than some. Let's for instance, someone for me died. I might take it harder than how you would take it. So my mental illness, my mental now is just gone off the rails. And you can suppress it and care for it more than I do. And so I'm going crazy and you're fine.
That's true, because like anything, every person's going to respond to something differently.
Yeah.
Whether it be, let's say you give someone a particular exercise. I'm always going to relate this to fitness, but if you give someone an exercise, I'm not going to give this person 100 kg and this person 100 kg.
Everybody's mental illness is different.
And just going back to what you were saying there before, Roland, about it fluctuating, before I ever had suffered with my own mental health, I always thought that mental illness was something that you just have and have forever. It's just something that you've got to deal with every day. But I've realised through my own experiences that it does fluctuate. You do have good days or bad days, or good periods and bad periods. And to monitor that and check in with yourself on bad days, but also check in with yourself on good days, and give yourself a pat on the back and notice what has made you feel good, or as well as what makes you feel bad. Because I think that's the other thing is people say, I feel low or I feel anxious, and they focus on the bad side, but obviously there's a good side to your mental health as well, and to focus on that is equally, if not more so, important.
Definitely.
And I think that sharing it with others is also important, because it kind of helps you. He helps you understand that the problem is not as big as you might think it is. And that other people might go through similar experiences in life. And so support is crucial, I guess.
I agree, like support can be really important, but I think it's sharing it with the right people, because as well there's a massive group of people on the other side who believe that it's attention seeking. They don't really understand what mental health means. Women get stigmatized as, oh, you're seeking attention, she's being dramatic and emotional. Men get perceived as, he's just weak, he's not a real man, he's just like a bit of a... So I think it's important, but I think if you're sharing it with the wrong community or wrong group of friends, you can actually be worse off. And it can go down to other worse scenarios.
Because it seems to me like it's, again, just a lack of understanding what I guess the phrase or the words mental health actually means. Because as you rightfully said, Alex, you know, some individuals will literally just say, oh, you're having a bad day, you're having a bad period in time, or you know, you're exaggerating, or even worse, the worst one is, you know, it's just life, you know, this is life. Like, I've had to deal with it, you got to deal with it, you know, other people, you know, and then trying to palm it off as, you know, there's worse things, you know, life could be worse. And it's like, actually, it's a serious thing. So as you said, until you, one, I guess, surround yourself with individuals who would say, actually, no, this is something serious. It isn't just being dramatic, isn't just being, you know, soft or whatever the case is. This is actually something serious. So yeah, you're saying, Roland?
No, I was basically going to say the same thing, really, but it's important to share it with people that understand what you're talking about. Because let's say if you was going to, you know, try and explain your illness, let's say, for example, a physical illness to a GP, you're not going to go to a dentist for back pain. You're not going to go, you have to speak to the people that actually understand what the term mental health means. And again, like last week, society doesn't really touch on mental health, let's say in primary school or in secondary school. We only really hear this in our adult lives. And then when you hear about it, it's like, what is this thing? Whatever, it's just exaggerated.
Just touching on there, what you're saying about the GP, the first time I ever had experience with mental health, I had like no idea. I'd never even learned, I didn't even know what mental health was. I genuinely thought mental health was schizophrenia, bipolar, like actual, not like anxiety and depression, but physical sort of disorders like that. And I went to the GP and he said to me, oh, well, you don't look depressed. Yeah, and I was like, so went home, was really disheartened, and luckily, thankfully, I've got a really supportive family. So I went again and I spoke to another doctor, and I actually fed that back and said that one of the GPs had said that, and her jaw was on the floor. She was like, we are medically trained to not say that, so I have no idea where that
wow is. Yeah.
Sorry that you had that experience. And I was like, oh no, it's, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, that whole thing about, oh, you don't look depressed is, or you don't look anxious, or the one that really gets me is, oh, well, what are you anxious about?
Yeah.
To be anxious about? You have no idea what's going on in my life, thanks, love.
That's actually the worst.
Somebody's feeling. You can't see somebody feeling inside the same way. If someone's got chronic pain, you can't see that pain.
Yeah.
It's just, it's almost expressing that you need to respect the fact that that's what they're feeling, even if you don't understand.
Exactly.
Just literally give them the respect of, okay, this is what you're telling me. I accept that. I don't personally understand it. Maybe you should speak to someone that is more qualified, or you should speak to someone that understands this. Otherwise, you just run the risk of just saying the wrong things and maybe hindering that person to the point where,
of course,
be on the edge. You never know.
But sometimes that person might not even know themselves why they feel it, because it's a chemical reaction in the brain as well. Mental illness isn't always, you know, just because of your surroundings. You know, postpartum depression, a whole load of things to do with hormones, what you eat. You know, you touched on about being sober. You know, alcohol has massive implications on people's mental state.
It literally is a depressant. Like scientifically, it literally is. That's literally a fact. It is a depressant. So even though you have a few bevies and you feel a bit like woo, and a bit like in continuous amounts of that battering the brain, does scientifically affect you in a negative way. And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't discriminate, it happens to everybody. And obviously that had an effect on my mental health. But even so, you know, even days now, I mean, I haven't drank a drop of alcohol for 8 months, and even now, you know, you have off days, and like you were saying, I do just think that it doesn't matter what's going on around you. Sometimes it is just a chemical imbalance in the brain, and that's just that. Because
I'd like to think back to what Rosetta was saying. Like I definitely do think that there is a scale, and I guess Roland, you mentioned you kind of referred it to sort of fitness as well. There is a scale of I guess a mental health scale, and it's just the health of our mental state, isn't it? And that can change from day to day. And I think for me, especially, I would say over the last 2 years, I personally had to like question, like, you know, like, do I suffer from some sort of mental health issue? And when I said that, it sounded like to me, it sounded like a scary thing. It sounded like because as you mentioned, Katie, about, you know, if you kind of like associate with being like schizophrenia or being or having bipolar or some, yeah. But then I just thought, actually, no, because so many things, like so many, you know, I guess mental health would be the massive umbrella, and then you have like so many things within it, you know, like anxiety and so forth. And I had to say, no, actually I do. Like on certain days, whether it's to do with work, whether it's with family, my own personal self, I do feel down, or I do feel like, oh, I do feel the struggles internally. And I think until you kind of ask yourself certain questions or talk to yourself, or even better, talk to individuals who do understand it, you kind of suppress it, and you kind of think, oh no, this isn't that. This is, I'm a bubbly, you know, uplifting, strong person. I can't be thinking like this. I can't be, you know, I can't be feeling these feelings. Surely I'm just having an off day. Surely this is just, you know, something that's going to pass. But it's not, is it? It's, you know, as you guys rightfully said, there's definitely that scale, and it's hormone imbalance, alcohol, all sorts of things that can trigger and move you up and down that scale.
Isn't it? Because when you like you've just said, then if you had a day where you think, oh, I might be feeling a bit depressed, your first thought is, oh no, it must, because nobody wants to be that word because of the stigma. So you'd rather say, oh no, I'm just a bit tired, or I'm just having a bit of a low day, or everyone has this, because you don't want that depressed, anxious title. But why? Like, that's always something that I always wonder, is why, if it is just a chemical imbalance in the brain that has nothing to do with anybody's choices, why is there such a negative stigma attached to it?
Yeah,
I think, like, for men, it's quite dangerous. So that mentality of, oh, I'm just going to suppress it, I'm having an off day, I'm having this, you know, it's nothing, because most men commit suicide more than women. And I think, like, that's a conversation where, okay, women, you know, body positivity, and there's a lot of focus on women's issues as well, and everyone should be considered, but I think there's not enough of a conversation about the way men are being raised to suppress everything is later on in like 30s, 40s, having the effect where they feel they can't speak to people, and they're being perceived as weak and so on, and then they get to like 45 and kill themselves. I mean,
that's the highest rate of suicide, isn't it? Males at 10, 40, 40.
It is a scary thing, because suppression, like anything, if you're going to suppress, let's say you have a health condition physically, if you ignore it because you think, no, it's fine, I'm not overweight, or I'm not underweight, I'm not, you know, finding, you know, cardio difficult walking up the stairs. If you ignore these things, they just get worse and worse. So it's mad, because like you said, we're taught as a society for men to don't express too much, and women, you can express as much as you want, but even still, women are told they're crying too much, or they're exaggerating this, that. So you can't really win either way. So I think society, from the home, we need to literally just put an emphasis on expressing yourself, talking, and just trying to understand what it means, because we shouldn't really be diagnosing ourselves either. So you wouldn't get someone saying, okay, I'm anorexic, or I'm obese, or I'm morbidly obese. So to diagnose yourself is a bit dangerous as well, because it can be scary, because you never really know what you're thinking or feeling really means. So you might go and Google, type this in, and it tells you.
Oh, Google. That's is that not the worst for everything? Like,
exactly.
Every time I Google my symptoms, I'm dead in 30 seconds. Yeah, no.
I think mental health is something that we should not be ashamed of. But us as human beings, we put a stamp on it to say, okay, well, mental illness is such a bad thing. And then if for instance, I'm just diagnosed with, my doctor is telling me I have mental illness, and he doesn't explain, well, you know, the in-depth of it, then I to myself say, oh gosh, I'm crazy, you know, I'm going off. So then I know it's making myself more sick than how I'm supposed to be. So we human beings, we take this mental illness thing and we just stretch it to what it's not, you know? So with that now, it just makes everybody just react more than how they're supposed to be pertaining to that, just that word mental health.
Yeah, because I think like anything, there's a scale. Even I saw something on, I can't remember where I saw it. It might have been Instagram actually, but it was actually a doctor who had a PhD in psychology. He was saying there's a scale, even with depression, there's a scale of depression, a scale of schizophrenia, there's a scale of everything. So even if you're schizophrenic, it's not to mean that you're at the highest end or the lowest end. There's literally scale. So you need to understand where you are at. If you need to seek help, or if you just need to implement changes in your life. But it's the lack of education. It's the lack of education.
Today on a podcast, it was Fern Cotton has a podcast called Happy Place, which I love. And she had a guest on there today that was talking briefly about mental health and how some of them can overlap. So obviously we're aware that anxiety and depression overlap quite often. But things like anxiety and OCD, like I didn't realize that those two disorders would overlap, but the OCD comes out as a form of anxiety.
Yeah, actually it does.
Yeah.
I'm like that though, because like if I have a bit, because sometimes I'll have anxiety, like I've had to go to the hospital with it before, and like I literally see the walls come in, and that can be because there's a dirty plate or something, like it will trigger it. Yeah, but that's when but it goes through stages. I'm not always like that. I'll have some months like that where if I think I've left the iron on, I'll have a full-blown panic attack and I can't breathe. And then other months I'm like, oh, fuck it, it's fine. It comes and goes. It's weird, but those two seem to OCD.
So do we think
it's all about having good days and bad days? Like sounds like similar.
So talking about days, let's kind of bring it closer to home now, and we're talking about the year of isolation, the year of global lockdown. To what degree, like you can agree or disagree, but to what degree do you think that, I guess, isolation, whether individuals have been isolating at home on their own, with partners, with family and so forth, do we think that's had an impact on individuals' mental health state?
I think it might have a good or a bad one, like depending on how you take it, because it forces you to spend time alone, like time with yourself. So if you're strong enough and maybe ready to take the challenge, there's room for improvement. But if you're if you're already prone to that kind of feelings, like bad feelings, then you might need some help from someone. Like you might want to see more friends or connect with people, with real people, to feel less lonely, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's great for the person, because some people are introverts and absolutely adore being on their own and have thrived in isolation, and then other people are extroverts and love seeing lots of people, and it's the same. Although speaking from my own experience with sobriety, is in the sober community on Instagram, is that you see people that have loved lockdown because there's no temptation in bars and restaurants, but then people really struggle in isolation because they always drank alone. So so it's always, I suppose it just depends on the person and how they deal with stresses and what their personality is like, in my opinion.
I feel like the involuntary, being told of, okay, you need to stay in your house, only come out if you absolutely have to. Obviously, a lot of people haven't been following the rules, but if you have been, but a lot of people don't like being, one, forced to, and two, for a long period of time. We don't really know when it's going to end, or when we don't really know if it's working. We don't really know if there's all these kind of unknowns. Is that being trapped in a cell, like in a police cell? You're kind of like, when am I coming out? When is this happening? So you start getting uneasy because you don't really have control of the situation. So I feel like lack of control can really affect people.
Yeah, and I think well, I know some of my colleagues, they're working from home, and they would never say they have mental illness, like that. But then working from home is like they're crying out. They need to come out. They're going bonkers in there. So to me, the COVID, the lockdown, is who didn't have mental illness or think they didn't have it, who is suppressing it. Now it's showing that they have mental illness, It has it called, those are comes in it, because those who are not is getting it.
You're right.
Those who have it, some of them do say that the lockdown is good for them because they don't have to come to the, like to the GPs or the mental institution. When they go to those places, they get more anxiety, more, But when they're home now, they feel much better because they come and visit them at home, and to them that's much better. So as Kate is saying, it depends on the person.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really valid point. Individuals who would suppress any level of mental health would be, busy bees. So busy with work, busy with gym, busy with life. So you haven't really got, you kind of mask it. So you're right, as you kind of sit in your four walls, you kind of realize, oh my gosh, I don't like my own company. And then your mind starts to play tricks on you. And I think this is where, that level, that sort of bar you creep up the different levels. But if we're talking about levels of depression or levels of mental health and so forth, right? So Rosetta works in a mental health clinic. Some of you guys would probably have either personal experience with friends, family, yourselves, when it comes to medication and dealing with mental health issues. And I was interestingly having a conversation with someone about antidepressants that they were told to go on, but this is 60 years ago. They've been on it since, and it was like, try these will make you feel better, then we can kind of wean you off them. But really and truly, the weaning off never worked because they felt, even worse. So like, what's your view when it comes to, I guess dealing with mental health? Like, have you got any tips, any tricks, any?
Me personally on that one. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've been offered like beta blockers and medication in the past, but I've never gone on it for that reason, because so many people, I did Google it and they were like, don't go on it, it's the worst thing. But I think like just meditation and coping mechanisms, like you have to learn a technique is probably what's worked for me anyway, but someone who's maybe a bit more serious, it might be different,
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't really have any experience personally or anyone that I know as far as I know, but I feel like medication should be an option, but not something that you directly dive into. Obviously, it depends on the severity, it depends on the, the individual case, but I feel like they should try and find the root of the situation. I don't know, in that particular instance, you said, okay, they gave him the medication and said, we'll try this and see if it makes you feel better. How about let's see what caused this first? How are you feeling? Let's try and get to the bottom of what is making you.
I think all of that takes time, and time is money. So unfortunately, the easiest thing to do is it's just like when you go to the GP and they're like, right, have paracetamol, have ibuprofen. It's like, we don't want to know what's causing your headaches. Not that I wouldn't go as far as say is that they don't care, but they haven't got
it's not priority at the moment.
Exactly. So right about now, have a paracetamol, have some, get some rest, and that will get rid of your brain tumor. 6 months later, it's the brain tumor you've got, and it's not just a headache because of stress. Do you know what I mean? So
but it's just as you say with the GPs or your doctor, it's like mental illness is they're fishing. They give you antidepressant. Or that didn't work, so they're going to try something else on you, and in doing that now, medication have side effects. So with them giving you the antidepressant, you get a side effect of something. They stop that and they say, okay, that's not working. They give you something and then you get side effects, and then it escalates. It's not to say that some people should I say should take it because of the seriousness of their mental illness, like schizophrenia and those people, right? So it's not to say that the medications are not good. Sometimes people that take medication, they would smoke, whether it's marijuana, I don't know the names of the drugs and whatever, they're on it. So the medication and the drugs, kick in together, and it makes it worse. you know. So the medication might be good in some part, but then, you know, not good, because you all have side effects.
Right.
And I was listening to a podcast, it was long ago, and they were reporting quite a few cases of people affected by schizophrenia and some cases of depression who actually were healed or managed for a long time on a strict ketogenic diet. And in some cases, they kept the medications that were prescribed, they just lowered the doses a lot, and they just managed the illness with the ketogenic diet. But it had to be quite strict. And I mean, again, it depends on the patient, because if the person is prone to, I mean, is happy with that kind of diet and with that kind of lifestyle and everything, that's fine. Sometimes people are not that cooperative, that they might not be happy to also try out new things.
Yeah.
But I think nutrition is, I mean, it should be explored more. And I was also reading a couple of articles about sugars and how they, you know, raise anxiety in some cases. And there was a friend of mine who actually reached out to me because she asked me if it was possible, because she experienced that after she eats a dessert or any kind of refined sugar, then she feels anxiety, like she gets anxious, while sleeping, even though she doesn't normally suffer from that kind of you know, I mean, she's not anxious or anything. And so I started looking into it, and I mean, yes, I guess that should be explored a little bit more in the future.
Katie, you were
food help. Sorry, go ahead.
And no, I was just gonna say, just going back to the medication thing, when I first, just obviously this is only my experience, but when I first felt like symptoms of depression and anxiety, I wasn't drinking at the time on purpose to try and fix myself, because I thought maybe that was what was causing it, and it wasn't. And I was exercising loads, so I wasn't drinking, I was exercising loads, my diet was on point, I was doing all these things that I thought would help my mind, and it just wasn't working enough. So it was at that point, after I tried to sort of sort it myself, that I did go to the doctors and got put on medication. And I was on that medication for a couple of months, and it did help initially, it really did. But then I didn't feel, you know, like I felt much better, but I didn't feel like completely better, if that makes sense. It was more manageable, but there was still something not right. I read an amazing book called Lost Connections, which is basically about the cause of anxiety and depression. Like Roland, what you were saying, like, don't mask the problem, like go back and figure out where the actual root cause is. So I sort of weaned myself off them, and I haven't been on them now for like way over a year.
That's amazing.
Because it was all about connection. So what in your life do you have legit connections with friends, family, with yourself, hobbies, interests? So I started working more on myself and found that it completely eased. So although I've said that as if it was really like an overnight transformation, it really wasn't. But I do think that they can help you for a certain amount of time, but I don't think they're the sole answer. I think that I think through fixing yourself.
I think
they're not the answer.
Because I think the medication is there to suppress the problem. It suppresses it, but it's there. So that's why when some people come off the medication, it's just comes back again because it's there. So medication to me is it just suppress it. Like it's like you have a dirty t-shirt, and you say, okay, you know what, let me put on a shirt on top of it. But when you take back off the shirt, the dirty shirt is still there. So the medication is just suppressing the feelings and the anxieties that you have, and it keeps it there. And once you take the medication, okay, you're fine. But if you decide, okay, I'm going to stop it, then you know it comes back.
But I think taking the medication gives you the oomph to get out.
If
you're willing to put in the work and fix the problem yourself, it helps you get out.
I think it's that, just before Roland goes, I think it's that. I think it's if people use it in the way or if they're told to use it in the right way, and it's here are these here is medication, it will, as you said, give you the oomph to get out and actually want to get out of bed and do things. But it's about utilizing that time to then, as you mentioned, Katie, like trying to find maybe things to help to help you along the way as well, and not just depending on that. But yeah, Roland, you were saying.
No, you basically hit the nail on the head for me, because I was going to say you could use, every individual is different, but if you're going to use the medication in Katie's, situation, she used it allowed her to easily, with a clear mind, not easily, but with a clear mind, approach the problem. What is the cause? Let me try and implement things without so much pressure from the actual situation. And as you're reading off, it improved. And obviously it depends with each individual how you're going to implement that. But like you said, time costs money. To actually have someone to coach you through this, not everybody has the right person to speak to. Some people get the wrong person that they speak to. Even if they are qualified, they might get spoken to in the wrong way for that individual, and it just sends them too far gone.
Yeah, Roland, you keep saying everything I want to say there. Because I was just about to say, that's where therapy comes in. So once you get the medication and it suppresses it, it makes you think better. So now you have a therapy who would come in and speak to you, and it makes you think, and you can get a solution to it.
So is this the way you work? How does this work? Because you have patients come into your clinic with different forms of mental health. How does the system actually work? Like, what's the procedure like?
Well, the procedure is in order to get in there first, you're going to be your GP got to refer you. So the GP has to assess you and see what's going on with you, and see if you need any further help. So you'll be transferred to say for instance my team. There now we have psychologists, we have therapists, we have doctors, and they would assess you and ask you question and see what's happening with you, and then they would diagnose you, and then it goes from there. You get medication.
So then these patients become a patient of the clinic.
Yes.
And they have regular sort of visits with whoever. Okay.
So there's sometimes some of them would come there and take the medication, which they call depot. They come and take the medication, and or else they just come and see the doctor, get advice. Right.
So and again, this is the scale, isn't it? Like I take it, individuals within your clinic are individuals who the doctor thinks actually you need more help than the GP
could give. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So outside of I guess reaching that level, let's just if I have to ask a question, how many of us actually take the time to speak to family and friends and just genuinely ask, like, how you doing? Like, how's your, it sounds weird to say how's your mental state, but just how are you doing? How are you coping with things? Like where you at? Because I think a lot of the times it may just be, oh, hey, how you doing? You're right. Okay. We don't really, when you ask, are you all right? It's kind of, just tell me yes so that we can move the conversation on.
Yeah.
But really and truly, have we ever taken as the sole purpose of a conversation and been to just be like, listen, tell me what's happening?
You know what? Me and a couple of my friends, close friends, we've actually started implementing these kind of discussions. We've met up once. We've been meaning to do it again, obviously COVID and that. But we've been implementing as guys, what, let's talk about this. Let's how you actually doing that? How's your mind? Like get phone calls from two of them and they will let me know. They would say, look, this is how I'm feeling today. And it's like, obviously we're not specialists. We don't really know how to console someone, but what we are doing is just giving them someone to that actually, look, I'll hear what you got to say about anything. I'm not going to judge you. You can let me know and I'll do the same. And that is so much, like so beneficial.
Yeah, sometimes you just want somebody just to tell you hello, to just tell you hi, see how you're doing, just a little conversation. And they're fine, because you have some of the patients come in and all they want to do is just have a little talk. And when they get the little talk with the doctors, they come out happy. You know, so it all depends. You take up the phone and ask somebody, how are you doing? Like some people don't care. Some people don't care whether you call them or not. Whereas somebody else might want you to, you know, talk to them, say hi, because they want to feel like they're wanted, that they're important. Yeah. So it's a good thing to take up the phone and say hi. Yeah, it helps.
Definitely, like just letting people vent is quite important. Because sometimes people, like, you know, sometimes when you have a friend or someone who's, you've given them advice already, but they need to hear themselves speak about it and go through the process. Sometimes I'll just be like, oh, you know, I'm just going to let them talk and let them get it off their chest, and that's it. So that tends to happen more, I find, with like people I know. I'll just let them talk, and sometimes need to hear it.
It's literally that. I've got a friend, and they do exactly the same. So they'll go da, 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 and this is the problem, and this is what I feel like this. I don't know what to do and whatnot, right? And I'm just like, what would you tell me? Like, if I was telling you everything that you're telling me now, which in some cases I've done that already, like, what would you, like, you'll say, Jermaine, like, you know what you need to do, and it's this and this, right? And they'll be like, yeah, I know. So I'll be like, what would you tell me? And they'll go ahead and tell me, and I'm like, well, there you go, there's your answer. And they're like, yes, yeah, I knew it. Like, and that's sometimes that's all it takes, you know. As you said, like, it is to prevent, it is kind of, you have, even with just taking this slightly off topic, like business. And if I'm thinking of a business plan or a business idea, like, in my head, I get so cloudy with things, and I'm just like, okay, I know this one, but I don't know how, you know. I'm just like battling with myself, and then I'll talk to someone, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. So that's so that's what I've got to do, right? So in this instance, I think, yeah, definitely picking up that phone, or even if it's a message or whatever it is, can make a difference. No?
Yeah.
I think that's true, because I don't think we're taught to, you know, step out of our own shoes and just analyze what we're talking about, thinking and doing. When you step out, if you put it in a perspective of what would you tell your friend, you think, obviously there's not all situations could be fixed or solved like this, but in some cases, in some minor cases, you can step back and say, you know what, I would tell you to do this, and you would work, maybe even not if solving it, but it'll get you closer to, you know, that point where you feel a bit less anxious, a little bit more in control. Because I feel like control, or lack of feeling like you have control, is a big part of it. For me personally, if I don't have control over what I'm doing, or if my future, or I feel like, okay, cool, what am I gonna do? I go through phases where I'm like, okay, cool, what am I gonna do? Is this the right thing? Should I keep doing this? Should I jump off? Should I do something else? That uneasiness, that uncertainty is what makes me personally at times can feel anxious. It's like, okay, am I really doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? Am I wasting my time? Is this going to pay off?
But it's nice to like be reassured, isn't it, and speak with someone, and they'll be like, well, you're not saying something crazy. I think like that sometimes, or this, that, the other. You know, it's nice to sometimes be like, look, just get yourself a bit wound up. It's quite normal, but no, I think like as a culture though, in the UK particularly, we're quite uncomfortable with other people's emotions. Like I grew up in Spain, so in Spain it's just all out there, you know, it is what it is. But here in the UK, like, people are very uncomfortable with like dealing with your emotion. They don't register it the same way as like a Spaniard would.
What is it about feelings that's so uncomfortable to talk about? Is it because the privacy of the feeling, or is it the fear of being judged? Like,
yes, fear of being judged.
Language people use.
I think it's more like fear of being exposed. So, like, I don't want to expose my true self to others. I don't know. I feel like I've been violated. You know, if I show my real emotions and feelings.
I think even for people receiving it, I think even people receiving someone else's emotions, I think we're so not used to having to hear what someone's feeling, whether it be even when someone's extremely happy. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like seeing happy people. They're like, why is he so happy? Why is she so happy? It's a bit strange, but we're just not used to interacting with other people's. Everything in London is just kind of fake. It's just kind of like, you right, mate? No one even answers that question. Are you right, mate? Yeah, you're right, mate. That's it. It's not really a genuine, let me connect with you, let me understand you.
But by the time they're telling you, are you all right, mate? They're already gone. They're not even waiting for your answer.
Yeah, literally, it's true. Exactly.
Kate, you were saying.
I can't remember now what I was saying.
Oh dear, sorry.
My apologies.
No, it's fine. Oh no, I remember now. Oh, get
Go.
Minutes. No, just saying about checking in on people, because sometimes, you know, when you just call that friend just for a quick one, and then an hour, 90 minutes has gone by, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I really am there for you. I'm just not there for you right now. And I know it sounds really nasty, but like I'm literally in the middle of something. But I have a really one of my best friends who, she called me, and we got some bad health news in my boyfriend's family last week, so we've had a bit of a
Sorry about that.
yeah, no, it's all right. It's just one of those things. But I had told her, and then I told her that I was sort of struggling with it anxiety wise, and she then a couple of like days after just sent me like a post on Instagram, and sent it me in my DMs, and it just said like 10 ways to, you know, look after yourself, and it was like, go for a walk, make a coffee, watch a funny film, or whatever it was. And I just thought, that's such a nice way, because I know she's checking in on me, but she's thinking of me as she's scrolling mindlessly on Instagram. And she's just gone, oh, well, Katie might like that. And I just thought that's a really nice thing to do. Like, I just really, even though it was only small, it's just feel like,
a question though, now that you mentioned that, like you said, obviously you were speaking to your friends and that, you know, they were there for you in their own way. But how do you guys feel about, obviously you said picking up the phone, speaking to your friend, but what about those friends who put all their emotion, all their stress, and all like draining you all the time? Like they're always coming to you for answers, they're always putting on you, they're always trying to make you feel guilty if you're not emotionally available. What do you think about that? Because that kind of messes with your mental health.
Yes, it does. Yes,
it could be a partner as well. It could be a partner.
I think as a friend, it depends on how much you truly care about your friend, and if we're to accept certain things. For my close friends, if that's the case, because we're going to go through periods of our friendship where we're doing different things for each other. So whether that be a friendship or a relationship with a partner or family, it's not a tit for tat. It's not a, you got to do the same thing for me, in my eyes anyway. So for me personally, if that's what I've got to do for 6 months, a year, 10 years, I know you're going to be my friend in your way.
See, Alex, that's an very interesting question, because just before you go, Gaia, I just want to say, like, I think it, off the cuff, I would definitely agree with Roland. But on the side note, if and this has happened, I've been emotionally unavailable because I'm dealing with, you know, a heavy stressful situation that literally takes all of my brain power. And I just feel like, you know, you get to that moment, you're just like, one more thing and you're going to keel over. So in that instance, a friend, a family member, your partner adds their stress onto yours. It can be enough to push you over, as strong as you, as much as you want to be there for them. But that's why I think it's such a good question, because although we do want to and be there, it is a difficult one. It's a good question.
But sometimes, sorry, Roland. Sometimes the person's problem could help you. Sometimes it could make you think, oh, you know what? My problem is not as bad as I think. You have somebody else there whose problem is worse than yours.
Or you could say, oh, my problem's worse.
I think, and then you help your friend then.
Yeah, and your friend help you.
I think in that situation, you kind of have to be, it depends.
Oh, he's gone.
We lost him.
Oh, we lost him.
He was gonna say something very important.
Go on, yeah, you step in, go on.
No, I was gonna say something like, I mean, I guess we always want to help our friends, but sometimes people don't really, maybe they're not really ready to be helped by us. Like sometimes we really put a lot of effort, and we, you know, provide them with, you know, possible solutions, or like that's what I would do if I were you. But then they won't listen, and they will just, you know, keep complaining, and just because they want to be helped, but maybe we're not the right persons to do, like we don't have the right tools to help them properly.
So
And that can
some
be
people,
draining, I guess, like in some cases, sorry.
exactly, yeah, they can be a bit draining without even realizing it, because you start to become like their crutch instead of like having a drink or taking pills. It's, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go and call, you know, so and so for an hour and a half and every evening and just talk about how shit my day was. You know, some people, and they don't realize they're being like that, some of them, but then if you try and confront them on it and say, look, I really can't, or I've got this going on, they might emotionally try and like guilt you a little bit. I've had that before where I've been like, look, I can't, and they will literally try and flip it on you and make it sound like, you know, I'm opening up to you and you're just throwing it back in my face. It's like,
I have a friend and her sister is ill with mental illness, just diagnosed, and she's finding hard to accept that she has mental illness, and the sister is, you know, her backbone. But the way how everything is on her, sometimes the sister would curse her. I tell her she got to be careful. It's a sister, but she got to be careful because she now would end up getting ill. And 2 weeks after, she got ill. She just got ill, and not mentally, but she got drained because she had to be running there and there for her, getting that, you know, taking her to her GP and stuff like that. And so it just drained her, and she had to stay away from, you know, for quite a while. So it can drain you. You have to be strong to help someone like that. And when you think, when you think you cannot bear it, I think you need to seek further help, someone that can actually, you know, help.
I think in these cases, you just have to try and be honest.
Yes.
Try and be honest, do what you can. If you can't, if they fail to understand what your point of view is, there's nothing really more you can do past that point, really.
Katie, you were going to say?
I know, I was just going to say, I think it's all well and good being there for a friend if they've got a problem, but if it gets to the point that it's affecting your mental health, you can't support someone well if you are
not well yourself. So
you're not actually providing them with good support because you can't even help yourselves. I think there comes a point if it is draining you that much that you probably would have to have the honest conversation and say, I can't help you anymore, then I can't give you any more, you have to go and see someone else. Whether that help or a therapist who's trained at dealing with that, or
and I think now, just before I get on to my next question, I just want to say, I think now that the world's opening a little bit more, I wouldn't say we're 100% there, but opening a little bit more when it comes to talking about mental health and talking about feelings. It helps if you have more than one person to talk to, because it's not the dilemma of, you know that this person's relying solely on you. So I guess the more people are aware of you know, an individual's mental state, or willing to talk, or willing to pick up that phone or whatever it is, then it kind of, do you know what I mean? It kind of like spread, I wouldn't use the word burden, but it kind of spreads the, I guess, the task of just checking up on one another a little bit more. So in my family, if I've got 15, 20 people, and we're all taking turns to check up on each other, it's not, oh, I've got to wait for Jermaine to tell him how I feel. Actually, there's another.
Like a support network. You just divide the burden.
Yeah, exactly. Were you going to say something, Katie?
I was just going to say that no matter who it is, a problem shared is a problem halved, isn't it? And if you say, whether it's family or even like your group of friends, like sometimes I feel like you tell one friend something and then it's better to just wait for that friend to pass it on to the rest, rather than you have to repeat the traumatic story like times and you're reliving it every time. Like, I'd rather just put it on the group chat and then you have it can be draining to like repeat yourself when you're going through a shit time.
So if I have to then take the conversation, and we'll kind of take this to the home run. So we've spoken about mental health and kind of, you know, what it means to us individuals and experiences and so forth. And this is in, of course, the world that we live in, but then we also have what I like to call another world, which is the social media world. And that is another ball game, isn't it? That's a ball game that we're all familiar with. We're familiar with seeing things that look to be legit, but is definitely not legit, because we've either we're either the ones, and I've seen that, I've actually done it myself, where I'm just like, oh my gosh, if you could see what the other side of this room looks like, and this, do you know what I mean? And like, just where I am just looks amazing. I'm not saying where I'm not saying that for now.
Flip the camera.
No, I'm not. I've got 1 or 2 cushions on my chair that needs making, but we definitely have come to the point of wherever we can't make perfect within like this real world, we get a second chance on social media, don't we? Like we get that chance of perfecting if we wanted to. Of course, there's a lot of people now going, listen, this is me, this is who I am. I'm not hiding my cellulite, I'm not hiding my stretch marks, I'm not hiding my the fact that I can't grow an even beard, so I'm not going to use the app to pencil it in and stuff like that. Not that I do that, but I'm just but I just mean, yeah, we definitely have another world. So
yeah,
you're all on social media, you're all big on, I guess, creating your own worlds on there. So what's it like for you guys when you enter that world compared to, I guess, the real world?
Me personally, I feel like I definitely do get drawn in a lot by seeing everyone's perfection, and without realizing it, because with, let's say you're following 100 people, 1,000 people, or 2,000 people, everyone's posting their best picture, their best body, or this or that. Obviously now it's growing more of, people are doing more realistic images, which is amazing, but it's overshadowed still by everyone's perfect image of their life, of their car, of their job, of their money. But it's not even everyone's intentions, it's just what happens on your timeline, because you're seeing Tom, you're seeing Fred, you're seeing this person, that person, and it just piles on, but it's not intentional. But it's a lot. So I just try to register. I try to give myself breaks. I give myself a limit, no more than an hour a day on that thing, but I do sometimes go over that limit. But yeah, I try to keep it capped so that I'm not just seeing the real world. Because when I step outside, I can see people in, ripped up jogging bottoms, no haircut, and you see the real world. So when you go outside, you see it. But social media is definitely a very, very unrealistic place. Even for myself, when I look at my page, I think people are going to look at my page and think my life is completely different to what it is. But it's not even my intention. But as long as you try and keep it real at times, then
I think like the most dangerous thing about social media, though, because now there's so much in terms of, we question what you're seeing. I think it's actually the bullying side, or the fact that you can say something and say, well, I don't agree with it, and you can have 15 people in that feed say, well, go kill yourself then. Things like that. I think that's where it's like, or trying to argue, like, for example, with the Black Lives Matter movement, the amount of like anonymous people who are going on, and Instagram and Facebook allowed them to have this platform to say a bunch of racist stuff, and then it's really difficult to hold them accountable. And I think that, from a mental health point of view, is like you can't even retaliate or get your point across, and that's something that I really got riled up about, because it's like they can just literally say what they want to say to you, and it's on the thing, people are jumping in. I think that's where the real mental health kind of.
I feel like
they're just trolling. They don't even mean it. Like, they're just trolling it, and they're just saying things random just because they want to shock.
Well, they want to get that reaction.
Yeah, but they don't even mean those things. Like, they just think of something, write it, and that's how you ruin a life.
Do you know what really gets me with trolls is, like, let's say somebody comes out. It's a good example of the Black Lives Matter, but let's say, for example, someone are coming out with abuse. People will blame the victim. Did this really happen? Did you lead them on? This, that. And I'm thinking, where is the humanity? Where is the sympathy? Like, where is, like, I don't understand what goes through people's mind when they see these things. It gets me mad, because I'm thinking, like, you're safe behind the screen. You won't say this in person to people.
No.
A lot of people, 90% of people won't say this in person because
No.
they don't have the balls for it. At the end of the day, they don't. But people don't really understand how damaging and how really, really bad that is to do to someone. Imagine
I get sucked into that.
Crazy.
Big time. Like, that is something that, because I look at people and think, oh, well, you know, they probably have fillers, they probably have this, that, and the other. I still love to look like her, but I kind of take that on the chin, whereas other people might not. But when I start seeing like people coming up with these wild comments, I get proper sucked in every time. Like, I'll argue every time. And that, when I come out,
we need more of that.
Anxious.
We need more of that, because for every, let's say, for example, I don't know what the number is, but there's so many trolls. There's not enough people standing up against, even if you're going to make a comment and say, don't say that or this, or even if you give them, you know, a taste of their own medicine.
Do you know what? I totally agree. And I think a lot of before we get back on track, I think a lot of time that I spend on social media is actually going through comments. Like, so that's what sucks me in the comments, right? So like, I'll go onto whatever platform it is, and I'll see a post, and instantly I'm like, oh, I know someone's gonna have something to say about this. So like, I'll go into I'll go into the comments, and yep, there we go. There he is. There she is. Yep, definitely he's saying this, right? And then I'll read down, and then someone like yourself, Alexia, would be like, excuse me, check yourself, kind of thing. Give a nice hard, give a nice hard hitting point, nice hard hitting fact, and I'm just like, yes, done. I don't even have to like address it, but you're right. For every, you know, as you said, Roland, for every 100 troll, you've got one vigilante that's trying to stick up for the goodness of others. It is hard, and it does definitely take a toll on an individual's mental health, because the person who's posting that picture, again, neither of us, you know,
they're reading it thinking, what the hell's going on here? You know, exactly. But I find that side, for me particular, that is what makes me really stressed and anxious, that part, but it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Going to media, that you're, if you've like actually just said then, you go on social media and you look at a picture of somebody and you go, oh yeah, she's probably had fillers, whatever, I'd like to look like her, but whatever, and you just carry on with your day, you know that it's fake, so you can, you're not affected by it. But I think I've got a cousin who's 15, and I have conversations with her, and I see on Instagram who she follows, and it worries me, because when I was it didn't exist when I was 15. But I look at 15-year-olds now and I'm like, you are not 15. There is no way in hell you're 15.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. At 15, I don't think I even had phone. If I did, it was just like Nokia phone.
Yeah, exactly.
All my friends were next to me and my mum was at home. I don't need a phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is a bit crazy. Like, my sister's 10. I'm thinking, when she grows up, the amount of things that she's seeing, people doing at young ages, I'm worried that I don't know what's gonna happen. And
I think it's you've made a very valid point, Katie, when you mentioned your 15-year-old cousin, because 15-year-olds not looking 15 but looking 21 or 25 or sometimes 35, you kind of have to think that has to take a toll on one's mental state, because if, you know, there's a lot of pressure that comes with looking a certain age and looking a certain way. And sometimes these pressures can't be handled by a 15-year-old. You know,
at
the age, yeah. So although you may look 21, I would argue the fact that a 21-year-old, you know, has gone through a little bit more and built a little bit more of a understanding of the real world. You know, they've got six years on a 15-year-old.
You look like mentally while still a 15-year-old child, and like there's a lot of, and I think it's just the pressure as well.
It's the pressure.
Yeah. Like, everyone wants to like be rich and all this stuff. It's people look at stuff like, my boyfriend's the worst for this. He'll look at someone his age on Insta and then he'll get really depressed because he's like, oh, they've got this, they've got that, and it's like, it's probably a rented car, it's probably not even theirs.
Oh, they get it, yes.
But he gets proper depressed about it, and then for the next week we'll feel like he's like the underachiever and he's like pathetic. And it's like, Jesus Christ, you need to come off of Insta. Like, if it affects you that
But
badly.
this is the
Yeah,
thing as a guy.
this is actually a very good point, because I think self-comparison is what is really destroying us in this moment. Like we can't help, comparing ourselves with other people we see on Instagram or just online. And I think no one, escapes this. I think everyone, you can be, I don't know, the best looking man or woman on the planet, but still when you see that picture, then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, no ways.
I think it depends on your insecurities, really. I think whatever your insecurities are on social media, without realizing, you're following that more, and you follow it more, and you're watching it and you're comparing it. Especially as a guy in that example, you're seeing loads of guys on Instagram, like you said, it could be rentals, it could be hire cars, it could be a friend's car, it could be stolen, it could be anything. But you're looking at it constantly thinking, is this the standard? Is this the normal? Then you again think of yourself as below standard, and then it starts to have an effect. But when you really look outside, most people in their 20s don't have fancy cars. Most people in their 20s don't have.
Fiesta, you know what I mean?
You don't have a car.
Having a car. Yeah, but like having a car in itself is like pretty decent. I mean, I wouldn't knock anyone for just having a car. You know what I mean? I don't have a car.
Yeah.
Walks on the trains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good point to elaborate on, and it's self-comparison, isn't it? And the way that we work is, we're beings that like to feel. I'd like to think that everyone wants to feel happy. Everyone wants to feel accomplished. Everyone wants to feel, satisfied and happy. And sometimes that's that my happiness might not be your happiness. So definitely growing up, I've always told individuals around me, if it's the one thing that I sort of pride myself on, is not being envious of anyone. And this only happened because I think when I was about 15 or 16, actually maybe from about 12 to about 16, I had a friend, and he had everything you can possibly think of, so growing up it was like, oh, I've got a pair of trainers, oh, ooh, look at his pair of trainers, I've got a bike, oh gosh, look at his bike, and it was always that, and it was always, oh my gosh, like, I want to be you, I want to be just like you. And actually, it was when I was 18, his mum passed away. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I was wishing so much to be you when I was 14 and 15, and just like that wish came true, and I was now in your shoes, I would now be burying my mum at the age of 18. And it sort of hit me. And it made me realize, listen, it doesn't matter what you have or what you don't have. Like, your life is your life.
Your life, yeah.
As you guys said, like, you don't know how they got that car, how they got that hair, how they got this. They could have worked hard for it. They might not work hard for it. But at the end of the day, they also, and I can guarantee, have had some hard times that you wouldn't want to go through. So it's like, you know what? This is me.
I think that they say, don't they, comparison is the thief of joy. And
yeah.
As soon as you go on Instagram, I'm in a good mood, and I'm on Insta 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, I need extensions or whatever, and it's like, it's ridiculous. But the other thing that I always think is, don't compare yourself to people and you actually don't want. Like, sometimes I'm on Instagram and people are like, well, not so much now, but partying and like doing all that type of thing, or they're at this certain place or with this certain group of people, and I'm like, oh, that looks really good. And then I think, I would honestly, that's actually the last place I want to be. Yeah. I have to like check myself, because your mind just runs away and you think, oh, I want that, when actually, really, I'd rather just be at home watching Netflix.
Yeah. We just have to try to be content with ourselves, because that's where your mental kicks in now. You start thinking, oh, I want what Jane has, I want what Tom has. Yeah. So if we're content with what we have, we'll be happy. But when you want something else from somebody, then it makes you unhappy because you can't get it. I think go on.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that we also need to be content with what we are, and not just with what we have. Yeah. Because otherwise we keep thinking about, like, you know, collecting stuff, even if it's not to show them to someone, it's just for ourselves, but it's still projecting, you know, onto something external. And I think we should instead, you know, start focusing on ourselves more, and becoming happy with who we are actually.
I think definitely there is nothing, there's nothing wrong with and again, this is where I guess balance comes into it, you know. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to be like someone, or saying, do you know what, when I grow up, I want to own a house in the hills, or I want to be able to do this, and you know, like in my 50s I want to retire just like this person who I'm following, or when I'm 70 I want to have, oh my gosh, I think I said it on a chat before, but there's definitely this 70-year-old guy who looks absolutely amazing, and I'm just like, gosh, when I'm 70 I want to look just like you, you know. And there's nothing wrong with wanting
Healthy
those
ambition.
things. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is again that balance and kind of keeping yourself in check to make sure that you're not, I guess, losing it, because you can compare so much that you're just like, you know, if you're in a relationship and you kind of see, as they say, relationship goals online, and you kind of come home and dinner's not presented with petals leading up to the bath, you're like, wait a minute, what kind of relationship am I in here? I'm like, come, we need to talk. I don't think this is working out, because you know, like hashtag relationship goals says that I need to come home to steak and wine every day. Yeah, I've come home to like shepherd's pie or something, and it's like, no.
But I think this,
no, you can't knock a shepherd's pie for sure.
But I think that's the difference between inspiration and emulation. Like, you know, it's good to inspire others, and it's good to be inspired by someone, whereas it's not so good to, you know, to emulate other people and also exactly that's
I think if you take it into the gym perspective, like with guys, you see guys that, let's say, I remember when I first started in the gym, I'm looking at guys like when I first started working and training, I'm thinking, this guy's in shape, that guy's in shape, I want to be like them. Would you do? And then you realize that, okay, these people, a lot of these guys are on steroids. Like, let me slow myself down and then not, you know, try to be like them, because I don't know what they're sacrificing, what they're risking in terms of their health and their lifestyle and their mental and their physical over looking good. Same for females, if they're in the gym, they're looking at girls like, oh, she's got a great body, or she's got great abs or bum, but you don't know, she might have implants. She might be spending all her money just to pay for all the Gymshark or this or that. It's good to have goals, like you said, but you need to relax, set your own goals, and just
when I was like younger, I used to be like proper obsessed with like how I looked. I'm not now, because it is what it is, but it got to a point when I got a bit older, and I started saying to myself, well, you know what, I could have been born with a birthmark across my face, or like a haired lip, or I could have been deformed or blind in one eye, or I could have not be able to walk. So it's also kind of like checking yourself a bit and being like, am I really that bad off though? You know, I should be grateful that if I want to get up and walk into the kitchen and make a sandwich, I can do that. And there's people out there who will give their, you know, literally anything to be able to do what I do and just take it for granted. So I'm not saying you've got to be like that every minute, but I think sometimes you just got to have a healthy slice of reality time and be like, you know what, do I really have it that bad? When you start comparing yourself to others.
That's the thing, the majority of people don't have it that bad if you really take a second to step back and think about it. And exactly what you said, exactly right.
And we can choose to, like, we have a choice, like we can choose to be healthy, we can choose to be fit. Some people just don't, because they were born on, you know, on the wrong side of the world. And sometimes we take it for granted, and we forget, you know, how lucky we are that we were born in the right place at the right time. And we don't have like major wars going on. We don't have a major crisis going on. We're kind of lucky. We're the luckiest ones you could think of. And yet, we, you know, we get like, you know, obsessed with other people, and we want to succeed. We want to achieve what we can't. And we always focus on what we don't have rather than what we do have, and what we are, and how valuable we are.
Yeah, I mean, everything's at our fingertips. Think about it. Like they say, half the world is trying to lose weight and the other half is starving. Like,
Exactly.
you might not have a Lambo in the driveway, but you've got food in your fridge. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people who literally, if you pulled out some of the items I've got in there, they'd think Christmas came early. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, and that's a Tesco shop.
It's true. That is exactly true. Yeah. That's perfectly right.
At bottom line, we have to be happy with ourselves. We have to be content and happy with ourselves. Because if we can't find, you know, happiness within ourselves, then, you know.
Yeah. Like.
But I think that takes practice. If you're not raised in the mindset from home or school or society to be appreciative of all these things that we know we should be appreciative of, you don't know how to express or even have that feeling of being content for a roof over your heads. We've got a phone with Wi-Fi. We've got, you know, we're in 5, 6 different places and we're talking on the phone. Some people can't see their mum on the other side because there's bombs going off, kind of thing. And it's like, we need to learn and teach this to, you know, younger siblings, kids. Look, be content. Do you know how blessed you are to have this? Do you know how blessed you are to have that? And just be able to run and walk.
Do you know what I've noticed? Do you know what I've noticed? And what I'd like you guys to do is, just as we sort of round up the conversation, if you can kind of, for those who are watching and just for us here as well, right? If you can kind of leave the viewers and leave us with, I guess, just some closing remarks when it comes to mental health, whether it's some advice, you know, some DIY hacks or whatever, just to deal with it or to help an individual. If you can think of that, just as I made this point, and it's when you have a world that believes it's so, or even parts of the world which believes it's so over-educated, you know, it kind of took me by storm. I think just as the pandemic was in full swing, for me to realize we are so uneducated as a species. Like we're so smart that we're stupid, right? We miss so many things that we should be educating ourselves on, that, you know, those powers that be should actually be implementing for us to educate ourselves on. For instance, you know, all these fights like Black Lives Matter, like it's uneducated to think that Black lives don't matter. Women's rights, it's uneducated to think that women shouldn't have rights, or, you know, there's so many fights happening and you just kind of think to yourself, everyone now saying, oh, just educate yourself, we need to educate ourselves. And it's like, well, we've come so far, like we've done some astounding things as human beings, right? And to fathom the smallest bit of information, sometimes it's like, what, now we have to learn that? So I think when it comes to mental health, it is the case of more education. Like it stems from, you know, sometimes I look at individuals in their 30s. I'm just on the right side of 30s. I'm 29, and I've seen individuals within, you know, their 30s and their 40s, and they're telling me stories about when they were teenagers or when they were like, you know, 9, 10, and their problems that they're facing now stemmed from those ages. So education is definitely key in all aspects. It's education at home, it's education in the education system. Yes, we definitely need our maths, English, and science to make the world go round and to do what we got to do. But definitely self-care and just self-worth, you know, needs to be implemented in the home, and where it can't be in the home, definitely in schools and colleges and wherever else. So definitely. That's sort of my bit. Feel free to sort of jump in, as I said, just leave the viewers and us with your sort of final remarks and advice, really.
Well, I'll say, for those who are suffering with mental illness, I mean, we all have mental illness, as I said in the beginning. Don't be ashamed of it. That's what's making us more sick, because once we've been told that, you know, you have mental illness, you just a scar with being like maybe crazy, stupid, you know. let's have a self-worth of ourselves. Just think to yourself, you know what? I'm proud of myself. And no matter what anybody say, you know, you stick to that. So just to let us all know that there's help out there, and let's talk to one another. That helps. Talk to one another, because you never know, a little word might stop someone from doing something that, you know, they had planned to do to hurt themselves or hurt someone. So a kind face, a kind laugh, a smile to someone, you know, a good gesture. So just to be loving to one another, it helps.
Going off of what you were saying, Rosetta, about being proud of yourself, I was going to say, what I would say is to just remember to be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Really hard on dark days or anxious days, and to just celebrate little wins and just be kind to yourself, because it's a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. To pat yourself on the back and
I definitely think to be kind to yourself is a big one.
I would say try not to compare yourself with others as much as you can, and don't be ashamed and don't be afraid to, you know, reach out for help. Just if you don't know who to talk to, just talk to your best friend. Just talk to your, I don't know, your mom, your dad, your brother and sister, and someone will help you eventually.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, you go first if you want. On. I was like, kind of waiting to see. I didn't want to barge in.
Yeah. No, it's all right. It's all right. I was just gonna say, like everyone said before, just be kind to yourself and just take some time to actually understand yourself and take time and understand your moods, what triggers certain feelings, and you know, even it might be a little thing like keeping a log of what things trigger what mood, so then you can have like a base of, you know, information that you can start developing a strategy to not control it, but then better understand yourself, so then you can, you know, and just remember, it's okay to feel down, it's okay to feel upset, it's okay to feel these things. Just know that you can feel it, you know, don't beat yourself up, be kind, and just, that's it, just learn yourself, really, just try to learn about yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, it's pretty similar to the previous messages that people said, but I'd say, look, there are organisations out there. If you feel even embarrassed to share it with people, you can go to Samaritans. There's so many charities or groups out there anyway that, you know, you might feel easier speaking to someone you don't know, like, you know, it depends. But I think the main thing you got to take away is obviously be kind to yourself, be kind to other people, because you don't know what they're going through. Not be bottling it up. And I think just remember, you're a human. It's all right to feel insecure, to be frightened of things, to worry what other people say, to worry if you look like an idiot or not. We all do that. Like before I sleep, sometimes I think, Jesus, I look like a right idiot, and I said that. But no one remembers. No one cares. We all do that. Like, seriously, your brain, if you let it, it will eat you up. So just stop and think, am I overreacting and am I driving myself into the ground here? And then just talk to someone. Like, you have to, the only way the stigma of mental health is going to eventually go or lessen is if it is shared and people do make a thing of it. So and also I think like raising awareness for like men's mental health, I think that's just something really important, because like we said, like the suicide rate's higher, so just look into that, I guess.
So I think we had an amazing chat. I think it's such a broad topic, but you all did exceptionally well to kind of, you know, entwine your personal experiences, professional experiences, and just your own opinions really on the subject. And sometimes it's hard to do that because, again, this is now online, and people can be heavily you know, can heavily criticize you for your opinion. But I think honestly, I've been absolutely amazed by what you guys have had to say today, and I know for a fact that even if it's one person that'll be watching this that will just literally take something away from this and go, yeah, actually, I'm going to start practicing this, or I'm going to start doing this. I really like the idea of sort of, wait, I feel like this now, but like, why do I feel like this? And kind of like jotting down, you know, why it may be and things that trigger it. So you've all definitely been amazing on this chat. So I want to thank you all very, very much for taking part, and of course for all those who are watching. What I'll do is I'll take all of your socials and I'll put them in the description. So if anyone wants to get in contact with maybe a point that you may have raised, or to kind of get you guys to elaborate on something else, then they'll do so. But for now, thank you again for watching another episode of Jay's Big Chat. And until next time, take care.